What the Buddha Taught by Venerable Dr. Walpola Rahula. Chapter 1, page 3 continued. According to the Buddha's teaching, doubt, vicikiccha, is one of the 5 hindrances, nivarana, to the clear understanding of truth and to spiritual progress, or for that matter, to any progress. Doubt, however, is not a sin because there are no articles of faith in Buddhism. In fact, there is no sin in Buddhism, as sin is understood in some religions. The root of all evil is ignorance, avijja, and false views, miccaṭṭhiṭṭhi. It is an undeniable fact that as long as there is doubt, perplexity, wavering, no progress is possible. It is also equally undeniable that there must be doubt as long as one does not understand or see clearly. But in order to progress further, it is absolutely necessary to get rid of doubt. To get rid of doubt, one has to see clearly. There is no point in saying that one should not doubt or one should believe. Just to say I believe does not mean that you understand and see. When a student works on a mathematical problem, he comes to a stage beyond which he does not know how to proceed, and where he is in doubt and perplexity. As long as he has this doubt, he cannot proceed. If he wants to proceed, he must resolve this doubt. And there are ways of resolving that doubt. Just to say I believe or I do not doubt will certainly not solve the problem. To force oneself to believe and to accept a thing without understanding is political and not spiritual or intellectual. The Buddha was always eager to dispel doubt. Even just a few minutes before his death, he requested his disciples several times to ask him if they had any doubts about his teaching, and not to feel sorry later that they could not clear those doubts. But the disciples were silent. What he said then was touching. If it is through respect for the teacher that you do not ask anything, let even one of you inform his friend, i.e., let one tell his friend so that the latter may ask the question on the other's behalf. Not only the freedom of thought, but also the tolerance allowed by the Buddha is astonishing to the student of the history of religions. Once in Nalanda, a prominent and wealthy householder named Upali, a well-known lay disciple of Nikanta Nattaputta Jaina Mahavira, was expressly sent by Mahavira himself to meet the Buddha and defeat him in argument on certain points in the theory of karma. Because the Buddha's views on the subject were different from those of Mahavira, quite contrary to expectations, Upali at the end of the discussion was convinced that the views of the Buddha were right and those of his master were wrong. So he begged the Buddha to accept him as one of his lay disciples, Upasaka. But the Buddha asked him to reconsider it and not to be in a hurry, for considering carefully is good for well-known men like you. When Upali expressed his desire again, the Buddha requested him to continue to respect and support his old religious teachers as he used to. In the 3rd century BC, the great Buddhist emperor Asoka of India, following this noble example of tolerance and understanding, honored and supported all other religions in his vast empire. In one of his edicts carved on rock, the original of which one may read even today, the emperor declared, "One should not honor only one's own religion and condemn the religions of others, but one should honor others' religions, for these or that reason. So doing, one helps one's own religion to grow and render service to the religions of others too. In acting otherwise, one digs the grave of one's own religion and also does harm to other religions. Whosoever honors his own religion and condemns other religions does so indeed through devotion to his own religion, thinking, I will glorify my own religion. But on the contrary, in so doing, he injures his own religion more gravely. So concord is good. Let all listen and be willing to listen to the doctrines professed by others. We should add here that this spirit of sympathetic understanding should be applied today not only in the matter of religious doctrine, but elsewhere as well. The spirit of tolerance and understanding has been from the beginning one of the most cherished ideals of Buddhist culture and civilization. That is why there is not a single example of persecution or the shedding of a drop of blood in converting people to Buddhism, or in its propagation during the long history of 2,500 years. It spread peacefully all over the continent of Asia, having more than 500 million adherents today. Violence in any form under any pretext whatsoever is absolutely against the teaching of the Buddha. The question has often been asked, is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? It does not matter what you call it. Buddhism remains what it is, whatever label you may put on it. The label is immaterial. Even the label Buddhism, which we give to the teaching of the Buddha, is of little importance. The name one gives it is inessential. What is in a name? That which we call a rose. By any other name would smell as sweet. In the same way, truth needs no label. It is neither Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, nor Muslim. It is not the monopoly of anybody. Sectarian labels are a hindrance to the independent understanding of truth, and they produce harmful prejudices in men's minds. This is true not only in intellectual and spiritual matters, but also in human relations. When, for instance, we meet a man, we do not look on him as a human being, but we put a label on him, such as English, French, German, American, or Jew, and regard him with all the prejudices associated with that label in our mind. Yet, he may be completely free from those attributes which we have put on him. People are so fond of discriminative labels that they even go to the length of putting them on human qualities and emotions common to all. So they talk of different brands of charity, as for example, of Buddhist charity or Christian charity, and look down upon other brands of charity. But charity cannot be sectarian. It is neither Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, nor Muslim. The love of a mother for her child is neither Buddhist nor Christian. It is mother love. Human qualities and emotions like love, charity, compassion, tolerance, patience, friendship, desire, hatred, ill will, ignorance, conceit, etc. need no sectarian labels. They belong to no particular religions. To the seeker after truth, it is immaterial from where an idea comes. The source and development of an idea is a matter for the academic. In fact, In order to understand truth, it is not necessary even to know whether the teaching comes from the Buddha or from anyone else. What is essential is seeing the thing, understanding it. There is an important story in the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 140, which illustrates this. The Buddha once spent a night in a potter's shed. In the same shed there was a young recluse who had arrived there earlier. They did not know each other. The Buddha observed the recluse and thought to himself, "Pleasant are the ways of this young man. It would be good if I should ask about him." So the Buddha asked him, "O Bhikkhu, in whose name have you left home, or who is your master, or whose doctrine do you like?" "O friend," answered the young man, "there is the recluse Gotama, a Sakyan scion, who left the Sakya family to become a recluse. There is high repute abroad of him that he is an arahant, a fully enlightened one. In the name of that blessed one, I have become a recluse. He is my master, and I like his doctrine." Where does the blessed one, the arahant, the fully enlightened one, live at the present time? In the countries to the north, friend, there is a city called Savatthi. It is there that the blessed one, the arahant, the fully enlightened one, is now living. Have you ever seen him, that blessed one? Would you recognize him if you saw him? I have never seen that blessed one, nor should I recognize him if I saw him. The Buddha realized that it was in his name that this unknown young man had left home and become a recluse. But without divulging his own identity, he said, "O Bhikkhu, I will teach you the doctrine. Listen and pay attention. I will speak." "Very well, friend," said the young man in assent. Then the Buddha delivered to this young man a most remarkable discourse explaining truth, the gist of which is given later. It was only at the end of the discourse that this young recluse, whose name was Pukusati, realized that the person who spoke to him was the Buddha himself. So he got up, went before the Buddha, bowed down at the feet of the master, and apologized to him for calling him friend unknowingly. He then begged the Buddha to ordain him and admit him into the order of the Sangha. The Buddha asked him whether he had the alms bowl and the robes ready. A bhikkhu must have 3 robes and the alms bowl for baking food. When Pukusati replied in the negative, the Buddha said that the Tathagatas would not ordain a person unless the alms bowl and the robes were ready. So Pukusati went out in search of an alms bowl and robes, but was unfortunately savaged by a cow and died. Later, when this sad news reached the Buddha, he announced that Pukusati was a wise man who had already seen truth and attained the penultimate stage in the realization of nirvana, and that he was born in a realm where he would become an arahant, and finally passed away never to return to this world again. From this story, it is quite clear that when Pukusati listened to the Buddha and understood his teaching, he did not know who was speaking to him or whose teaching it was. He saw truth. If the medicine is good, the disease will be cured. It is not necessary to know who prepared it or where it came from.